This is Max Level EDC, and this is sort of something I've been wanting to do for a while, which is to arrest the bit when being used in a style PS. This is not something that was originally designed to work this way, but I saw this on YouTube a while ago, and I just love that it could do this task, which is that it could hold a Leatherman bit pretty securely, in fact, and you could use it to unscrew things, which made the style even more useful than it already was. So if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, we're going to show the rest of the process videos after this, and I probably even upload a Instagram TV video as well, probably even to YouTube. So hope you enjoy, and you guys have a good Monday. Hello, this is Max Level EDC, and today we're going to be doing a project using epoxy clay. I don't know exactly how well this is going to work, and I don't know how well these are going to hold structural integrity wise, but we're going to play with it. The idea is we're going to try to do a proof of concept before we do a 3D design to allow Leatherman bits to work with the style PS. So this is something I showed in a recent video of using the patch to store it, but you can use any bit with the style PS set up that way, and the spring is retained like this. The problem is there's a lot of movement, and I'd like to eliminate that. So that's what we're going to try to do with the epoxy today. So we're going to run through that, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. So the first thing I do is we get to talk about what I'm going to use today. So I have two pairs of gloves, well, a pair of gloves. I have a utility blade. I'm going to play around with the Micra to see if it has tools that I can utilize in this little process. We have a little tweezer to kind of get into weird corners and pinch some of the material away, depending on how we want to do it, or use it to jam it in where we want it to be. So we have to be very careful when we take this out. We don't want to be using the same hand for this jar as we do for this jar. That way we don't want any residue on that glove to allow it to set in the other jar. So like this glove will be associated with this one, and this glove will be associated with this one. It's kind of how we're going to do it. And once we get it down, we're going to measure out how much and kind of get them in equal portions 1-to-1. Okay, so we don't need much of this. So this one's going to be using the left hand. I'm going to take, I don't know, let's see. That should be more than enough. And I'm going to roll it into a ball so I can get an approximation of how much I have. That's probably way too much, but we're going to have a bunch left over just to play with maybe, and because I'll use that to figure out, you know, how much for future projects. So we're going to do the reverse here. Now I'm holding with the opposite hand, and I'm going to take some out of here as well. And we'll take about that much. Alright, and then we'll reapply the lid, keep it together, and with any luck I've gotten similar sizes. They're not bad, but definitely a little bit more the second one than the first. Now we have give or take the right amount. I took a little bit off the black one. It's pretty close. We're going to go ahead and we're going to knead this together as much as we can. And we're going to mix it. It says you should mix this up for about 2 minutes before, so it has a completely uniform color. So right now it's not very uniform. I can tell because I'm looking not through the viewfinder, but I'm actually looking through it, and there's still a lot of mixing to be done. So we're going to do that for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to put it together and work with it. We're going to use the standard Phillips flathead bit when we do the mold for it, and we're going to use that to kind of set it the way we want it. Okay, obviously, mistakes are always made in this process, but you should know, you should always have the bit you're going to use for the form already ready to go, because when I went to go touch it with my dirty hands after mixing it, I was like, I'm going to get this all over my patch that had all my bits, and it's just going to be a mess. So make sure you have it in there. I wanted a bit that would sit flush with the metal on the back side like this, so it slightly angled out, and that gives it fewer degrees of freedom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mixed putty and we're going to slot it in. I might even do this, I think, just to keep it out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill that up as much as we can. We want it to go through all the holes so that way it provides some sort of lock so it doesn't slide out, right? So it needs to have some putty on both the inside and the outside. So definitely some lessons learned here. First off, we used way too much, but you can't put this back in, obviously. But lesson learned there, you need a lot less than I showed. And so I just kind of got this in there just like that. The one thing I want to make sure I can do is open this up and down. So I did take the X-Acto knife and I did remove all of the material that was stuck in there. And of course you want to make sure that this is where it's supposed to go. Like you see how it slid out. So now that's set up where I want it. I want it to kind of come up the side a little bit and go down in as well. I want it to have as few degrees of freedom as possible. It's possible also that this epoxy is not rigid enough for this, or it's too brittle. So we won't know until after it's hardened, which should take about 24 hours. So we're just going to play with it, and then I can always manipulate it after the fact.